Former US President Donald Trump has gushed over Boris Johnson, describing him in a new book, Our Journey Together, as one of a kind and a fantastic leader of the United Kingdom. But crucially, he added, and here's the controversial part, he will go down as the best PM since Winston Churchill. But some might doubt that after Boris had a bit of a disastrous moment speaking to the CBI today.
Forgive me. Forgive me. Hands up anyone who's been to Peppa Pig World. Not enough. I was a bit hazy what I would find at Peppa Pig World, but I loved it. And Peppa Pig World is very much my kind of place. It has very safe streets, discipline in schools.
It even prompted journalists to grill him Sleepy Joe style on his state of mind.
In your speech to the CBI, you lost your notes, you lost your place, you went off on a tangent about Peppa Pig. Frankly, is everything okay?
I think that people got the vast majority of the points I wanted to make, and I thought it went over well.
Look, we all have a bad day at the office, don't we? And I think Boris is actually a brilliant speaker. This was just one of those ones, and I feel his pain. But earlier today, I sent my reporter Caroline Gawley to the streets to ask the great British public if they agree with Donald Trump's claims that Bojo is the best PM since Churchill.
Do you think Boris Johnson is the best Prime Minister since Churchill?
Definitely not. No. Definitely not.
Tell me why.
Because he's egotistical, he's one-track minded, and he thinks about himself.
You do?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Why do you think that?
Because he did many good things to the country.
Because he's very unfair and he doesn't think about everyone equally, and he just does what...
He hasn't really done any good to the country. I don't know what he's done.
He's very intelligent. He's doing great things for UK.
I think he is an egoist. I think he believes he's Winston Churchill, because he wrote a book about Winston Churchill. I think he's incompetent.
It's not an easy country to control, so overall I can't think of anyone else right now that would be doing better than him.
I can't trust him as far as you can throw him, to be honest.
And why is that?
Just lie after lie after lie, and then a U-turn after U-turn.
You like him?
I do like him, yeah. I don't know why, but I do.
So do you agree with Trump? Is Boris the best PM since Churchill? You can vote now in my poll at GBNews on Twitter. Email me to dan@gbnews.uk, and I'll read out some of your messages after former Tory MP Edwina Currie and Benjamin Loughnane, research fellow at the Bow Group, battle it out. So, Edwina, you actually don't think what Trump is saying is ludicrous, right? You think he has the chance to potentially go on and become the greatest PM since Thatcher?
Well,
Sorry,
Daniel,
since Churchill.
What the former American president actually wrote, mostly in capital letters in his own handwriting, was that Boris will go down as the best prime minister since Churchill. So he's not saying he is now. He's saying basically when history comes to judge him many years from now. I mean, my feeling is that probably Trump entirely forgot Margaret Thatcher, or maybe had never heard of Margaret Thatcher. That's at least possible, given it was Donald Trump. And that, in fact, the British people in a poll a couple of years ago said that the greatest prime minister since the war was Margaret Thatcher, who was in office for 11 years, which is, 9 years more than Boris has managed so far. I mean, give him a decade, and he may well rank up there with the truly greats. I don't think he's quite done it yet, but I think he's got every potential, every chance.
Benjamin Loughnane, why do you disagree with that? I mean, he's the bloke who delivered Brexit. He's got us through this pandemic. The public overwhelmingly support him, regardless of what the Westminster bubble might think.
Yeah, I think there are two Borises. There's the Boris who was the mayor, and also that carried on into his Brexit spirit in the 2019 election. And then there's the Boris we saw at COP26, who's a totally different character. He has totally different policies. He seems to believe in totally different things. And I think a lot of what that's influenced by is who surrounds him and who he's listening to at any given time. I think that he does have some potential to do great things, but at the moment, given the way that things are going, I think it's absolutely farcical to suggest he's anywhere near being in the same class as Winston Churchill. You know, Churchill was a great leader, and not only a great leader, but a great leader under pressure in the darkest hour of this country's history. And Boris, I mean, you know, obviously we've had 2 bad years, but he hasn't shown the same character under pressure that Churchill was able to show. I think in general, comparing politicians from today with politicians from 50 or 60, 70, 80 years ago is an exercise in futility, because the standard has dropped so much in the past 50 or 60 years that we really are not seeing the same class.
Edwina, is that true? Or is it actually just that the media pressure, the 24-hour news cycle, social media puts so much more scrutiny on our prime ministers compared to Churchill's day?
Well, it was just the same, I think, back in the day. It's just it was done by daily newspapers, and the London Evening Standard would have 3 or 4 editions every day. So that scrutiny was there all the time. No, I don't think social media makes that much difference. I must say, I think Benjamin talked complete nonsense. In fact, I've used a slightly ruder word about it, saying that the standard has gone
rubbish.
Goodness, you sound like the old woman. I'm the old woman, and you sound like what the heck? I mean, goodness me. Let's just recap a little bit, if I may. You know, Boris's government was elected to do Brexit, and they did it within a matter of weeks. They got it done.
When Theresa May had failed,
it will be a tremendous success. We're seeing already that this country has got tremendous growth. We have low unemployment. We are in a position of much considerable strength compared with what's been going on in Europe. We've seen the vaccine rollout, which has been astonishing. A lot of those vaccines actually produced in our country from Oxford University, my alma mater. I couldn't be more proud. And a great deal of that was a question of judgment that had to be done at pace in the darkness and a fog of complete lack of knowledge about exactly what we were dealing with. It's been done extremely well. And that's a government that Boris has led for, 2.5 years, well, 2 years effectively, since he actually had a majority. We don't know exactly what's going to go on from here, but I would say I think he's got every chance. I thought COP26 in Glasgow was quite a triumph. You know, we could easily have found it just a great big talk fest with nothing much happening. But in fact, we've moved on. The argument is accepted about global warming. In this house here, I've got solar panels on the roof. I've got an electric car. And I'm, died in the wool Tory.
And Boris has now reinvented himself as a Green Prime Minister, hasn't he? I mean, Benjamin, just pick up a bit on this idea that folk in the Westminster bubble seem so desperate to bring Boris down all the time. They're always predicting his demise. But the public love this guy.
Yeah, the one thing that makes me sort of have some sympathy for Boris is who his enemies are, because, I have to say he's better than them. But nonetheless, he still needs to get on top of things like the Channel crossings, which for 2 years have gone numbers increasing up and up and up, and he hasn't seemed to have done anything about it. He's barely even spoken about it. He's barely even acknowledged the fact that it's happening. And if he wants to go down as a great Churchillian leader who does well in times of crisis, he needs to get on top of things like that and ensure that they don't happen. Another area where I have some sympathy for Boris is that in London, things are relatively free. I mean, I've travelled. I've been in, I think, 5 countries over the past couple of months. And I have to say, every time I return to London, I think, wow, this is so much different to the rest of the world. But obviously, that needs to be maintained and balanced out. And if he gives in to things like what some people are calling for, like mandatory vaccinations and vaccine passports, I think he'll go down in history as having caved. So I think there are ways that he can redeem himself and go down in history as a great Prime Minister. But at the moment, things seem to be moving in the wrong direction from my perspective. And I think someone like Trump at the moment has a lot of reasons to be pro-Boris and to say these things, because he wants to run again in 2024. And a good way of making sure that he might win in 2024 is keeping some of these world leaders on side and ensuring that they all like him, so that when he, has these ambitions of becoming the president once again, he has those people in place around the world to support that.
Edwina, final word to you. What do you think Boris has to do over the next few years to ensure that he has a legacy to challenge Churchill's?
He needs to step up the people in his office. It is absolute nonsense that you have a pile of paper that you lose your place in. That's ridiculous. Properly put together speeches, ring binder, whatever. He needs to have people in his office who are talking to what amounts now in Parliament to both sides of the party. So you've got the older, safer seats in the south and the east of the country where, those people, I think, are sitting on 20,000 majorities, have certain views, and they're not happy about being told that they can't be paid lobbyists. So they are pretty cross with him for that. Where I live, up in what used to be called the Red Wall, we have a lot of keen, young, very, very keen supporters of both Brexit and of levelling up and getting change up in the north of England. And they sometimes feel that they get neglected by those of you down in London. You forget where we are. You treat us all as oiks. We are not oiks. We are voters. And we have a very strong view on how things should go forward. If Boris can improve communication and learn to balance those two groups, improve his PR a little bit on something like, for example, Northern Powerhouse. You spend 90 billion pounds and you don't get good PR, that means your PR is a bit faulty. If he can do all of that, then I think he will go on, he'll win the next election, 2024, and eventually we will all come to admire him, including Benjamin.
Former Tory Minister Edwina Currie, and before that, Benjamin Lockname, Research Fellow at the Bow Group. Thank you both. Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.